Let's get spooky!
All right, Fiends, welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Spooky. I'm Leanna Vamp.
And I'm Ashley Jonkus.
And this is our friend David. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Every time that we have someone on, we want to hear their first. We've already given our first horror movie, our first paranormal ghost / supernatural experience.
Oh.
Basically, we want to know what
Everything. Spill the beans.
We want to know everything
All your
about
dirty
you.
secrets.
I'm like, how much time do we got? Because I got a lot to spill. I got
Spill
a big
it.
gallon container of beans, if we're talking about beans here.
Spooky beans.
Hi, I'm David. There's nothing really to tell other than that. I was like, David. First horror movie, to be completely honest, my family's big horror movies. So we loved horror movies. So I think I would have to say it's probably Exorcist would be the first.
That's your favorite, or that was your first?
That was my first.
That was my first too.
Yeah, first. Not favorite, but just one of my favorites.
Not my first.
Well,
I'm not cool, I guess. Shit.
I don't think it was a requirement. I didn't see that. It wasn't a prerequisite.
You have to have your first horror movie has to be Exorcist.
I was like,
or you're not in the cool club.
That was on the welcome mat as you walked in.
You have to take off your tinfoil hat if you don't watch the Exorcist first.
Let me explain the tinfoil hat. So our topic this episode is aliens, hence our tinfoil hats, because we are protecting our brains against the aliens being able to take our knowledge and infiltrate our minds. Okay. So in case you were wondering,
you make one, in defense.
So that explains our hats and why we look like this. We'll get more into that later. But tell us, have you had a paranormal, ghost, supernatural, any sort of experience or personal experience in that realm? And I know the answer is yes, so I'm asking like
she
I
knows
don't
yes.
know. But tell them.
But yes, I have had many experiences, to be completely honest. But I'll rewind so that way, one, I'm not going too far into my length of experiences, but my first experience that I can recall in detail was actually involved cats, ghost cats. So that was crazy.
We're like the same person, Exorcist and ghost cats. Okay, continue, sorry.
And I'm just the loser on the right side.
We still love you,
Ghost
though.
cats.
Ghost cats. Ghost cats too. But I was at actually a girlfriend at the time at her house. We were just hanging out in the living room, and I just happened to see a cat walk by from the kitchen to the living room. And it caught my eye, just in peripheral vision. And then I looked again. I'm like, that was a cat. Then another cat walked by, followed by a third cat. And I kept making comments about it. And so I looked, and I'm like, okay, how many cats do you guys have? And so they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, how many cats do you have?
No cats.
Exactly. No. So her mom's like, that's funny. What did you see? I'm like, I saw an orange cat, I saw a black and white cat, and then I saw a tabby cat. And they're like, we don't have any cats. We've never had cats.
And were they, real as, if you went up, you could pet them? They were...
I wouldn't say that real because it's only in peripheral vision,
okay.
But as real as I see a cat walking from one room to another, but not like I'm going to go reach out and touch it. But in vision, just walking back and forth, as real. So I stopped and I'm like,
those kitties.
I've seen 3 cats walk by. What do you mean you don't have cats? I'm like, oh, well, what we found out was the previous tenant had cats.
Oh, so they weren't even their cats?
No, they were previous tenants'
cats.
Residual cats, yeah. So new roommates. But yeah, that was my first real kind of 100% clarity kind of experience with beings or indoor.
Can I ask you, was it, when you realized that it wasn't real, was there any sort of what was your reaction? Were you afraid? Were you shocked? Were you intrigued? Because I think people's first experience and how they react to that has a lot to do with what direction you go with in your love or hate for this kind of stuff.
Which makes sense, but with me having experience prior to that, little things here and there where I experienced as a child, energies and or sounds or I guess presence, it didn't really shock me or scare me. It was more so of oh, well, that makes sense that I saw that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, well, I'm glad you guys know what happened, so I can kind of grasp that those weren't real cats. And then I was more intrigued as in what else is in this house.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
So definitely not a scary thing that scared you away. You're just this is just another normal thing that I experienced.
No, just normal. Yeah. I've always just been intrigued by more than scared.
So I guess I guess that kind of covers first horror movie, first experience. Yeah. Our topic for this episode is aliens. So I guess we'll let you, because you're our guest and we're polite hosts, we will let you...
You're the alien expert, maybe, potentially. You've got the best hat.
You do have the best hat. Our hats, I tried really hard, but it didn't really work out for me.
Mine was from the Italian restaurant last night.
Ends.
Yeah. the reject hats on the ends. So, have you had any sort of alien experiences, personal alien experiences, or seen a UFO or anything in the alien realm?
Now, alien, I wouldn't say being-wise I'd had experience, but I had definitely seen what I would consider UFOs, and multiple times throughout my life, my many years on this planet. But
Tell us more.
Yes, I've seen a lot of lights unexplained. Like, I was always fascinated by UFOs and or the existence of aliens, and so kind of like I've always kept my eye to the sky. Like, I've always been a big astronomer, so that's kind of been a consistent. So it wasn't a big surprise when I first saw crazy lights. I know just like recently, a group of us were at Disneyland. We were just outside talking, and you don't think, "Oh, Disneyland, okay, there's planes flying around, there's fireworks, there's lasers, you're bound to see something."
Yeah.
But there was just a straight green like flare that shot across the horizon, and it was there for a good couple seconds, long enough for the rest of our party to turn around and view it as well.
Multiple
People saw it. So it wasn't just me, because I've had experiences where I've seen it and it's been like a like kind of a blitz where you're like, "Oh, I saw that, no one else did." It's like, "Okay,
Right.
great."
Now
but
they
like,
think I'm crazy.
when there's other people present, you're like, "Hey, did you just see that light?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah, I saw that." And you're like, "Okay," it's a little more validation that you're not like making things up in your brain. That like,
Right.
"Oh, that was a shooting star or something."
And there was
But-
no one, I mean, was there anything that, sometimes that happens and people are like, "Oh, I saw this," and then on the news later they'll report that they were testing blah, 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 or something to explain it.
No, there was nothing that followed to like have some sort of like explanation to like, "Oh, just in case you all saw that green light in the area, was we were testing out this rocket." It's like, no, it was nothing. It was
Probably
science.
everyone at Disneyland was like, "That's Buzz Lightyear, look, Mom."
Yeah, yeah.
Basically.
And yeah,
not
they're
afraid.
like, they're probably so used to things and lights and
Well, yeah,
shit.
especially in that
Yeah.
vicinity, it's like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
normal. There's something in the air." Like, okay, whatever. But I was like,
that
no,
secret Star
that was
Wars
not.
Yeah. Okay, I guess a good thing to ask is, because we're talking about aliens, I mean, I'm assuming that all of us on this panel believe in aliens, but I can't speak for you guys. So my answer is yes, I do believe in aliens. What about you?
I'm a yes.
Yes?
I'm a yes.
Okay. We're just going to establish that yes, we all believe in aliens.
Yes.
Ashley, what about you? Have you had any sort of alien?
I'm
Your
like-
face right now, she's like, no.
I feel
No,
like
I
I'm
am
the
not.
most uncool person because I'm so fascinated when nothing happens to me. I'm like that girl that like never gets asked to dance.
You're like, but I love dancing
I'm like,
so
but
much.
why am I not cool enough? Because like I never.
I like how that's the basis of comparison, though. You're like, "I'm never asked to dance.
So nobody
What?
thinks I'm cool.
No one's ever going to
just
abduct
like,
me." It's like, "Oh,
No,
okay."
well, like I've never even seen a light in the sky, and granted, I'm blind as shit. So
Well,
probably not.
what is that be your justification for that? You're like, "I just can't see, so it might have
So
happened."
there's no aliens because I
like-
can't see them.
Yeah, E.T. could have
don't
been
know.
knocking at your door, and you're like,
Like-
"Who is this?"
I don't have my glasses.
I was
Where's
like,
the
"Oh."
Domino's pizza? Shit. No, I believe heavily because I'm logical as shit. But I also, I don't know, I've just never seen a thing in the sky where I haven't been like, that's actually like a military plane.
That's
or
like-
whatever.
right.
Like, I've never seen a weird thing.
Like a
And
move irregular
maybe
where
it's
it's
because I
not.
don't hang out in Sedona enough. I don't know. Like, there's some weird, specific energy-driven areas that I would like to go out and see some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not alone.
Just make sure you bring your glasses.
Yeah,
please.
Bring your glasses and
Yeah.
we'll all go together
I'll
and
bring
hold
all three
hands.
pairs.
For safety.
Let's
Done.
bring our hats, though.
I don't think that I mean, I remember growing up as a kid and seeing stuff, and I'm very gullible, first of all, and I'm also very afraid.
It's smart to establish those
Yes.
two things first.
Gullible and afraid.
Okay.
So if I
a
see
wimp.
anything and someone's like, "Oh, that's a UFO," and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get abducted. I'm gonna die." Like I immediately think the worst. I do remember as kids seeing lights in the sky and things moving in patterns that weren't like a straight line or anything. I can't talk. Nothing that was so irregular that I was like, "Oh my god, that I can't explain that." So, and even when I did see stuff, then there would be on the news that they were testing this or they were doing
Yeah.
that. So, I thought it was an alien or I thought it was a UFO, but it turned out to not be.
Yeah.
So nothing
Got it.
concrete enough, but honestly, I believe that it's very arrogant to think that we are the only humans.
Yeah, because we're not that special. Like,
universe.
we mess so many things up on our own planet. Like, there's no way that there isn't some other alien race just watching and waiting to nuke us, but being like, no, let's watch and see them fuck up more things before we nuke
It's
them.
like a
'Cause
show.
It's like a
We're like the
reality
best
show.
But I like how
Yeah.
their intention is to nuke us.
Yeah, they're like, ooh, wait a minute, they're about to do something real stupid. Like, let's just hold up. Like,
and
I
you
feel
just
like,
you just discredited
Oh,
everything
yeah.
my mother's told me about me being special. So.
No. I'm sorry.
I'm just cracking up because the only humans in the universe?
Well,
did I say humans?
So there's also, but
Oh, wait,
I mean,
hold on. Hold on.
Wait.
I say things on this show all the time, and someone will catch me. What did I say about sleep paralysis? I was like, there's only 8 people in the world with sleep paralysis. I meant to say 8%.
But
so, the thing is, nobody else pays attention to what I'm saying to call me out by camera.
But to go to that point, there's also, because there's different kinds of aliens, there is an alien type called humanoids. So
yeah, Cameron.
humanoid.
Cameron.
Humanoid.
So just,
sticking it to the man via Google.
He just flipped us off camera. Okay. So we all have. You actually have seen stuff.
I've seen
Ashley and I haven't seen shit.
No.
How is it that you, I'm going to be honest, how is it that you, in all your travels and things that you've sought out, have not? Perhaps it's you're seeking it to...
I think
she smells. They don't want to deal with her.
Yeah, I think they're like, bitch, we know what you're up to. We're not going to show ourselves right now. Then there's evidence.
They're like, she's got a sweaty lip. No.
She got a sweaty upper lip, and we don't show ourselves to those kind of people.
She got that BO. She ain't friend with us.
No.
I practice good hygiene. What is this about right now? I'm being attacked.
Is it? We're friends. We're just concerned.
Thanks, guys.
We're all
respectful homies. We're just giving you a bad time.
Your lip is too sweaty.
Oh, I can't even hold it together. Oh, hold on.
Oh, I got some of that. Sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna rein it back in.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about, on every episode, we kind of talk about a show or a horror movie that has to do with our topic. So, is there anything that you are currently watching or have watched that has to do with our topic that you love or hated or just want to talk about? Ashley, you go first.
I'll go first because I just watched a documentary that I freaking hated, and it was called.
We have strong
disclaimer.
Hated.
Freaking hated it. There's no. Yeah.
Hold on a second.
We interrupt this broadcast to tell you that the fucking aliens just made our audio real shitty, but it's real nice now.
It's real nice now. It's like
real fucking good.
We interrupt your
so now we're doing great, guys.
broadcast.
So yeah,
Yes.
it's rolling now.
Well, yeah, it's recording.
Yeah.
So we interrupt this regularly. I can't say that word.
Regularly scheduled.
Regularly scheduled Let's Get Spooky podcast program. The aliens have been interfering with our audio, and now we are
We're less
back.
fuzzy now.
That's
We
'cause
are
they know.
back.
We're back in action.
We didn't
clear-
have enough tinfoil.
And we were about to talk about what we've been watching.
Yeah, what's this
Yes.
crappy?
So this crappy little Netflix doc is
Oh.
extraordinary, which is real indicative of how fucking ordinary it is.
Wait, it's
And
called Extraordinary,
It's called
right?
Extraordinary.
Oh, say, was that a plug of the title?
That's the title. The Stan Romanek story. And this guy, Stan, he's like had over 195 accounts of alien shenanigans. And so I went into it. I was like, okay, like I want to hear what he's talking about.
Stan, what you got?
Because like, how
Yeah.
special are you to have more than one encounter?
Right.
Like
190.
like 196. He's
Especially you
document-
had none, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
special.
I have none
I was
either.
like,
yeah.
I don't even dance at dances. Like, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this, and maybe it won't be cheesy. So it wasn't cheesy for
Like
the
how your
first.
goal was for it not to be cheesy.
Well,
Yeah. She
you
set
know,
the standard going in.
Accuracy is important too. You know, it went in and it had like this deep, intense music, and like dun, 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 aliens, and this guy's Stan. He starts showing all this evidence, and he's like, oh, like this has been happening so many times, and he shows like all of these images of wounds that he's gotten, and then he starts going into all of these videos and images, which as someone who knows Photoshop and video editing very
Got
well, I am like, ooh, I see that the pixels are actually different, first of all, between the areas of, you know, where the
Normal
alien
versus
is.
alien.
Yeah, you can tell so well if you mess with pixels all day.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at that. I'm like, okay, like maybe he just tried to enhance it and blah, blah, blah. So then he shows these videos like half an hour in, and he is documenting the window.
Oh, Stan.
And
Stan.
poor Stan, he's
Half an
trying.
hour in.
He's
Only
trying.
half an
He's
hour.
old. He doesn't have much going for him. But
Poor Stan.
he's basically recording this window, and it's just this steady, maybe GoPro or whatever, and you see an alien, and I say that in quotations, look up into the window.
Like
and it is,
perfectly framed in the window.
Yes. New to look through
he's
that
just
window.
peeking. He's just peeking. But not only is the lighting on his forehead wrong, but also it is the most cliche depiction of an alien. It's like, you know those, like, you used to go to Toys R Us and you put 50 cents in the
Oh, like the little toy.
and you get
yeah.
the little toy
Yeah.
aliens. It is like a toy alien, and they
It probably was a toy alien.
No,
that
I mean
just,
they 3D
lift it up.
They clearly 3D rendered it, but it was just like at that point it just got worse and worse for evidence because they were like, "Ooh, now we're talking to this British lady on the telephone and we don't know who it is," and they show a photo of the deck,
because
and then they
British,
show
when you have an accent,
they
you're
show-
more
It's more
you're
official.
It's more
They show
official.
a
yeah.
blonde lady photoshopped looking through the panels of
blonde
the
lady's
patio.
photoshopped?
Yeah, the blonde lady who they've been talking to via the aliens, and I'm just like, this is so lame. Like, I don't believe anything.
So you know what I think is interesting is no matter what
None
you
of that?
hear, well, not has nothing to do with the terrible show and Stan, but the fact that no matter what you watch, everyone always thinks when everyone says, "Oh, I've seen an alien," or "I had an alien encounter," or whatever, "I saw a UFO." The immediate response is "You're crazy." Because of all of this nonsense that people put out seeking attention or whatever it is that their end game is. So what I feel really terrible about is if someone actually has a valid encounter and are like, no, this really happened to me, the amount of like dread you would have to put that out there because you're going to think people are going to tell you that you're crazy, and like how you would feel to know something for a fact happened to you and nobody believes you.
But I also think that if it happened to you once or twice, like, because I have friends who have they were like, I was touched by an alien. I'm like, I don't dog that. Like, you probably could have. Like,
Yeah.
you were in Sedona fucking around. Probably.
Yeah, but there's that sense of doubt.
But if you said you were touched by aliens 196 times and you got every single account on video, and they're a little sketchy, and you
Yeah.
have to use, like, intense, audio effects in your Netflix special to show how great you are. Like, I feel like it's that game where they say, like, you lie repeatedly so many times people stop believing you.
Yeah.
Where I think,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I think people do see aliens.
I just actually watched a Twilight. I don't know if you've seen the Twilight Zone episode where the guy is basically like a compulsive, not necessarily a compulsive liar, but a storyteller. So everything he says, if you say, I made this glass, he would say, well, I made, 12 dozen of them and I'm a professional glassmaker, and like everything is over the top and he's exaggerating all these stories. And then he actually gets,
I'm like, was that real life? I know a few people like that.
I know, we know plenty of, I'm sure all
know
of
a
us do.
few.
And then actually aliens come and he gets on their ship and then he goes back to tell his group of friends what happened. And they're like, oh, well, you lie so much all the time
I was like,
that
didn't
they
we
don't.
watch that episode last time we were over?
Probably
Yeah,
we
I was
watched
like, that's the
Twilight Zone is
episode.
like the background of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Is it in fact happened. He met aliens. He was on their ship. He experienced their lifestyle. But nobody's going to believe him because he's made up so many stories in the past. It's just another one of his stories.
But look at the rationale behind that thinking. It's like, how better way to hide something than in plain sight?
Yeah.
Overfill, a populace with false information and or false accounts and or accounts that can easily be disproven because they're so outlandish and crazy, while you let the little ones that are like so clear, so pristine, that could be potentially real, slip through the cracks because everyone's like, oh, it's another one of those crazy stories. It's like, oh, Ashley's just been crazy again.
Yeah.
And we all think it's crazy because, like, we're not told everything. So there's
Right.
also that. It's not
information is withheld.
it's not just like, when thunderstorms happen and like we've seen lightning and it's just like, yeah, because we can see it. Like, sometimes people see aliens and they have the accounts, but like there's a lot of information withheld from us that, like, I'm sure would accurately prove all of these stories and be like, yeah, those lights are actually aliens. That green shit that you saw at Disneyland, that's this. But like,
it's
we're not.
justified because I think people can't handle the truth. All of us here, I think if that were to happen, we'd be like, hell yeah, sign us up.
Yeah.
Where can we go to the meet and greet?
Some people don't need more stress. They're very stressed as it is. Like,
some people can't handle it. But what can we say about like the old cave paintings and the old, they're not hieroglyphs. What do you call them when it's the cave drawings? Oh my
cave
God.
Cave drawings.
No, it's not, but it has a name. Petroglyphs.
Petroglyphs, yeah.
About where there's like aliens
Well, I
or
think
there's
that's
people
what
in
they-
astronaut
That's
suits.
what they thought
Oh, yeah.
were gods. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with like when they saw things coming from the sky. I'm sure that had a lot to do with like how they basically created religion. Because how would they explain that? Because they don't know. Because everything they know is like on the ground or like it's a weather
But
thing.
again, what you're
Yeah.
looking for in an explanation, because you want it to be titled as alien
Right.
or unknown. But again, there's always someone or a group of people that are saying like, hey, no, this is actually this. This was just misinterpreted by, what they saw. And it's
Right.
just, oh, yeah, it was during a lunar eclipse, which they didn't know what that was. So like, oh, that was just
You're trying to
mistitled.
justify.
So
Yeah.
they
But-
justified these unknown encounters, which to us seem like they would be obvious, like that was an
Right.
alien encounter, like that was
Yeah.
that was an alien.
Right. But those, like, I remember seeing, and I know that if you watch History Channel or Travel Channel, they're all over. But there is a specific petroglyph of a humanoid creature wearing a helmet that resembles an astronaut. If you look at the boots, they're like that thick moon boot, and there's a cord coming out of the back of it, like an astronaut. So how do you explain them having that vision, that drawing in a cave?
Marty McFly.
Someone went back in time, like, where does that come from? Because at that time, people portrayed things by an image that they saw,
It's a time and space continuum.
right?
Bum, bum,
So
Well, when I think of like Interstellar and like how they explain the fifth dimension, that really resonated with me because it from your view as the family seeing all this shit move, you were like, oh, it's paranormal. But
Yeah.
then when
Yeah.
you see it's the fifth dimension, you're like, there's other beings. And maybe, I don't know, like maybe there were people back in the day that were at our level technically,
yeah,
that were space explorers. And we
Traveling through
might never
time.
know about them.
Yeah.
Because we can't be the only ones technologically being able to go to the moon. Like I'm sure there's aliens who have adapted to go to other planets.
I just find it fascinating because I always think at that time there was no Netflix, there was no social media, there was no internet, there was nothing. And you would draw something that you physically saw or that, and I guess if you think about it in another sense, like think about the creators, the artists, the movie makers of today. I'm sure that there were people like that had visions of imagination. But it's
think of
so
it-
specific.
It is, but then at the same time, on top of that, there wasn't anything that was transportable. There wasn't anything that was mobile. Like there was no books.
Yeah.
So those cave paintings were done in that specific cave. So for anyone
Yeah.
else to also correlate with that vision and or sighting and or painting, they would have to visit that specific
Physically
cave.
see that cave.
So to see multiple paintings throughout the world through multiple eras, it doesn't seem to connect to be like, oh yeah, like
That's just a coincidence. Like it's not.
I'm like, oh, they're all drawing kangaroos because we all know what a kangaroo looks like. It's like,
Right.
no, it's
Yeah.
They
We
didn't-
don't know what an astronaut
don't
looks
know.
like. We don't know what a spacecraft looks like.
Yeah.
So to see those multiple things during different time periods in different parts of the world where there was no connection, it's not like you could jump on the freeway and go to
Exactly.
that area. I find that fascinating. And to me, that is a big, solid chunk of evidence that there is something besides us. And maybe we clearly just don't have solid evidence to prove it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people also use that for, certain excuses to say like, oh, like the aliens did this. Kind of like with like people saying like, oh, like it's like God, like making all this bad stuff happen. Or like Saturn's retrograde or whatever. Maybe it's the reptilians. Maybe it's the aliens controlling things and being like, now everything's going to suck. And maybe there's a bigger part of the universe that we don't understand because we're a pawn in it.
Yeah.
That they're like controlling.
Yeah.
We're
I
like-
always see us as like we're the awful reality show that they watch and they're like, haha, look at them. Look at
Yeah.
them screwing everything up.
I was just saying the
They're
other day,
at war again. What
they
the
see us as a
fuck?
petri dish. So like
Yeah.
they just started it and they're like, how's this experiment going? And every
Right.
once in a while they come back and be like, how are they doing? Oh, there's
Oh,
a sea
ouch.
monkeys now. They're like, oh no. They're like, no. We'll come back in a couple millennia and see what happens.
and we'll just see we'll see where they are.
Okay.
What about a show, recent show or movie? Not necessarily, I always say recent, but I guess it doesn't have to be recent. That is alien-ish, alien
that
related.
resonates.
That resonates with the alien theme.
Like always that's resonated is Arrival, not Amy Adams' Arrival, but Charlie Sheen Arrival. Like that always has been within my gut and my bones forever because it basically surrounded like global warming. And the cause of global warming was aliens just terraforming the planet. And the aliens basically were here in just plain sight disguised as humans. And so you didn't know what was going on until he stumbled upon their plan that they wanted to basically terraform Earth.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's crazy. And like, that has always been within my brain. But then there's so many good ones. Just like, Communion, which was a great book as well, which has to do with different abductions. Close Encounters of the Third Kind has always been like my favorite.
I love that movie.
And obviously everyone's been, huge fans of E.T., but Close Encounters has always been kind of like right there because it was so real, because it dealt with UFOs and first contact, where I think E.T. was definitely like the kind of warm and fuzzy version, just like Mac and Me.
Right.
E.T. scared me.
Love Mac and Me. I don't know.
Just the alien best friend,
Yeah, it's just kind of like, I want that best friend. Like, oh, okay, awesome.
Which I think is a cool way to make it not scary for kids.
Yeah.
I love E.T. and it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And I thought that it was a really cool way to make, I wanted E.T. to be my friend.
Well, yeah, they were
a lot of people
botanists.
have
I
like
didn't.
the opposite.
I didn't like
Yeah.
him.
I have a lot of, I know a
When
lot
he
of people.
was in the, what was he? He was in that little tube and he was really white.
Oh.
The incubator.
The incubator,
one
it's
Yeah,
like
that
image
freaked
of
me
terror.
out.
The cryo
It
tube.
looked like me in the morning and I was like, oh, snap.
Like, no. So, speaking of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I actually didn't know that there was, I knew that there were levels of like encounters, but I didn't put two and two together. So when I was doing a little bit of research for this episode, I saw a list of the stages of encounters. And it was developed by, I believe his name is Dr. Hynek. I don't know if I'm butchering that name or not, but it basically gave you the first kind, which is a sighting. So that'd be anyone outside seeing something, not necessarily outside, but any sort of sighting of
You'll get
a
there.
UFO.
I know.
It'll happen in time.
You'll get the dance first.
The
I'm
second
an alien
kind
virgin.
is evidence. So any sort of evidence like a crop circle or,
I was like, it's not evidence.
what is deemed
Is
evidence
it
is
documented evidence or just like
It just
word
says-
of mouth? Being
it
like,
just
I
says
saw this thing,
evidence.
I'm stage one.
yeah, I think it just says any sort of, I guess that you could deem that is actual
evidence,
evidence. The third kind, obviously, Close Encounters of the Third Kind is contact. The fourth kind is abduction. So one of my, I'm not going to say it's a favorite of mine, but an alien movie that I saw
Not a favorite, but we're
Not
still
a
going to talk
favorite.
about it as we do.
is The Fourth Kind. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, which is interesting because they made it out to be a true story. And when I watched it, again, I'm very gullible. So I'm like freaked out of possession. I'm freaked out of abduction. Those things, like, no, thank you, don't want it. I would love to observe. I don't want to be involved. I'll stand back and be like, oh, you're going to go to the spaceship. Have fun. I'll see you when you get back. But I don't want to
I'll
go.
wave at you at the gate.
Yeah, I'll be here for like, I'll have the welcome sign when you come back and flowers and everything. So I watched that movie and extra freaked out because I thought it was a true story. Come to find out, actually not a true story. And the production company went through great lengths to make it seem as if it were a true story. They made fake news articles. They made fake websites. If you look at the IMDb, the girl that plays Dr. Abigail Tyler is an actress. So if you're like not a ding dong like me and you're like, oh, let me just do a little research. Clearly it's not real, but it's basically about
That doctor looks familiar.
I've seen her in a few other movies.
We go to the same Starbucks.
It's about a psychiatrist who is basically working with her patients who are all suffering from insomnia. So she does hypnosis to basically get down to the bottom of what's going on. She finds out that all of her patients are waking up at 3:33 a.m. and they're all reporting seeing an owl outside their window.
We need to hypnotize you.
We need so maybe there's something deep
experience.
down.
I've got my hat.
Yeah, you're
Maybe I
hiding
take
it.
the hat off and they'll find
And
me
the
more
aliens, I
enticing.
know.
You're blocking them.
So as she starts to uncover what's really going on, she finds out that her patients are like, oh, wait, this isn't actually, I'm not actually seeing an owl. It's just what the aliens want them to think that they're seeing.
Got
So
it.
that she starts uncovering that this is alien abduction. Her husband had committed suicide, which she finds out she thought he was murdered, but it come to find out he had an alien interaction. He couldn't cope with it and he killed himself. So all of her patients are exhibiting all of these crazy things, and it's in this remote town of Alaska. So after this movie came out, the city of Nome, Alaska actually went after, I think it was Universal that did the movie, because they were getting they were losing tourism because people are like, we don't want to go to Nome, Alaska. We're going to get freaking abducted. No, thank you. So
or do we want to
plot
go?
I know,
twist,
maybe
yeah.
we want to go. But then they actually settled out of court because they admitted that they had made up all of these fake websites to convince people that it was real.
Got it.
Granted, whether it is real or not, I clearly know that it was fake. But when I still watch that movie and I hear the sounds and I hear them talk about it, because I believe that could happen, and there's people that has happened to, and I am afraid, it scares the shit out of me.
Well, yeah, because it has that level of plausibility. You're like, this is not.
This
this
could
isn't like
happen.
crazy Hollywood where it's like, all these laser beams are happening. You're like, no, this could happen. It's rational.
Yeah, and they did a lot. They actually didn't really. It was one of the things where they didn't show anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to your imagination to figure out what that sound looks like.
Got it.
And what that sound feels like.
Yeah, that's like my girlfriend Kim's like favorite movie, alien movie.
She's over there, so you love it?
Kim loves The
She
Fourth
loves it.
Kind. It's
It's a really good movie. It's done very well. They do. It's very convincing and you feel like it was that's the real doctor.
Yeah.
And they make it look like it's kind of found footage. I enjoyed it. I've watched it a couple times. I rewatched it before this episode, and I still like it, even though I know that it was fake.
That's how I feel with District 9. And I don't know if it's because they depicted it where humans and aliens were cohesive or non-cohesively living in the same town where they were in the slums.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I felt like at a certain point, if aliens were to actually escape here and have to like live within our society to like get away from their planet, they would probably have to be stuck in the outskirts in the middle of nowhere, and we treat them like shit, and they would be like these disgruntled little creatures. And I don't know, like I always resonated with that movie because they shot it in a way that was also kind of found footage, and they had like documentary style, almost like it reminded me of The Office, where I was like, ooh. But in the way that they shot it. But I really liked the way that they like picked a town that wasn't like New York or anything. It was just like
just real people.
Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And it was just like real people. There was already a lot of poverty, and I feel like the aliens would have to find somewhere that was like a little bit desolate because that's what they're used to.
Yeah.
And so if they ever had to like chill with the humans, how would it be as a civilization?
I mean, I guess it depends on the level of intelligence of the aliens, because if they're far superior than us,
And those
that
suckers
would,
were
we
eating
would be
cat
in the
food.
slums.
Yeah, they were just like, they had their own language.
They'd
Because
be
they
like,
were
you guys.
What if cat food was like their filet mignon?
It was though. Like that was the whole thing where when they first went
They're
into the
simple
town.
people.
Like,
They're a simple race.
Well, no, like there was a scene where there was a bunch of
Fancy cat.
army guys going in, like
feast.
going and controlling them, and then there was the reporter throwing cat food at them, and the guy was like, "Is that like a bomb or something?" He's like, "No, it's cat food. They love that shit." So it was kind of interesting to be like, how would we actually function?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah,
we
but I
gun
feel like
them
too
down?
with that film, it was a phenomenal film. But I felt like it gave us too much credit in regards to how inviting would be. Like, yeah, sure, go ahead and live in this
Yeah.
area. Like,
Yeah.
we'll feed you cat food. Like, we got lots of it. Like,
I mean, they were in they had to have their own little shacks, and like they had to find their ways to survive.
I
Like,
just
they
think
were,
our minds would be blown. We'd have
Yeah.
like shit fits if
Yeah.
like aliens landed. Everyone would be like,
No,
we
no
would
one.
contain
I would be
them,
like,
sure.
welcome. Like,
Right.
find a friggin' leave.
No
Like,
one would be able to handle it. I guarantee you, there would be so many people that would just freak out and want to leave.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go because you're on this planet. But there would be a group of us that would be so pumped and ready to like
study them, talk to
hang
them.
out. Like,
Yeah.
let's be friends.
Let's get drinks.
Let's go have a drink.
It's everyone's
Let's
festival.
come on the podcast.
Firefest.
Tell us about your life. If aliens ever do come to this planet, you are welcome on this couch. We will make room.
100%.
We have decent Wi-Fi.
We do have decent Wi-Fi, and we have good snacks usually, and we'll
Snacks
have
and hats.
snacks and
Drinks.
hats. So just know that you are very welcome. Okay, one thing. It's kind of funny, but I really actually want to know your guys' opinions. So I gave this episode a name, and it's "Wanna Get Abducted" is the name. So I want to know if you would want to get abducted, and your reasoning why. So you have to like give me some reason why, not just like, yeah, I want to get abducted, or no, I don't. Who wants to go first?
Oh.
Not me.
Okay, David, you're
You're
first.
I don't want to get abducted.
I'll go last.
So is that a no?
I'll be the Debbie Downer at the end. So you guys go
So
first.
do you want to get abducted, and why?
Okay, well, first and foremost, I feel like one that already has a negative connotation behind the phrase of getting abducted, because you feel like you're being taken at like
Yeah.
not with your consent, you're being forced. But I would definitely like to be removed from this planet by
To
another
hang out with the-
being.
okay.
I think that would be awesome. Well, depends on what they're looking for. If they're looking for medical, I don't think they want to experiment on me. I'm like, I got a bad heart. Like, that's not great. Like, they don't want to experiment on that. And like, chubby? Like what? Like want someone for comedy? Like I don't
Maybe
want
they
that.
do.
Maybe I don't know. Or
When-
like
when-
crafter. Like I
once
can
you're
make them
abducted,
things.
They probably
then
don't
you'll
laugh
know.
much. They
Maybe
might
they're looking
need
for
you.
costumes. I can make them things. I don't know. But I feel like the experiment alone, whatever the case may be, whether it is just to make me a guinea pig, to work on me experimental wise, medically, whatever it is, I would welcome it, to be completely honest.
What
'Cause
if you knew that you couldn't come back?
that's fine.
Really?
I would be totally down with
Fuck
that.
shit.
Come on. I'm like, how long? Okay, well, obviously we haven't explored enough on this planet, but I feel like already we've done enough on this planet where I just don't think we need to be here anymore. We don't deserve it, to be honest.
Kind of screwing it up a
We're
little
kind of
bit.
screwing it up,
Yeah.
but outside of our everyday norm routine, like Monday through Friday, just the normal burner, like you kind of want something else. Could you imagine being taken by another
You wouldn't
race?
have to pay rent
Like,
anymore.
Well,
That's
hell yeah.
exciting.
Like you don't have to pay bills.
There
but
are perks.
There are perks. Like,
But you can never come back to your loved ones, your family, your friends, your life. Like you would be content at this point in your life being like, peace out, love you guys.
yeah,
I'm
but
out.
that's like with any choice in life. Like you don't know whether or not you're going to come back to like those people or those people you
You don't
love.
even know if you're going to
True.
live on the highways in LA.
Seriously,
Like, I don't know.
like you're gambling.
I'm
that
very
every
afraid
day.
of abduction, so I'm really like, no, just don't leave me. I want you guys to stay
So
here
what if
with
they
me.
peacefully just open the door and said, "Come with us"?
But I mean,
Do they have snacks?
Red vines.
red vines, I am in.
99.
I am in as long as they're fresh batch.
It's fine.
It'll constipate you, but you like them.
So if I knew that I couldn't come back, I don't think I could say that I would go.
See, but now you're answering after you've already upped the ante
Okay,
of my
okay.
question.
So
First and foremost,
what-
would you like to be
No,
abducted?
my answer is no from the beginning.
Okay.
Because everything that I've watched about alien abduction is not real great. I mean, like you are at their mercy. It's not they're like, hey, let's hang out, let's do a podcast, let's talk about
They're
life.
like, let's probe you in
Let's
the
That's
put
an
something up your
interpretation.
butt.
You're not,
Yeah.
What if they're like, let's just play canasta, or like, do you know
They're not
Uno?
going to want to do that.
But can I? Okay, here I'm gonna set.
Oh.
I'm gonna set my guidelines.
Dominoes? What do you think they're gonna ask for? Play poker?
I would say
Go fish.
I would say,
There you go.
can I have an interview? Period. I want a solid 30 minutes. So for us to talk, we can figure it out. I can find out what are your motives. What would you like out of this
Very
abduction?
April O'Neil.
Right.
like
I
it.
just want to know. And depending on that 30-minute interaction, I would decide yes or no. Probably no because I'm a big chicken. And
Just imagine that game of Guess Who. It'd be really easy.
yeah, I know.
Almond eyes, pale skin. Oh,
See, I wouldn't want to get
Alien.
I wouldn't want to
Alien.
get abducted either. Like I feel like, and I don't know if this is really just hokey, but I feel like I was born to serve a purpose on this planet, despite it being very difficult. And I'm just like I wouldn't want them to mess up my Google Calendar and take me because I've got
Yeah, you're
things
like, "I got shit to do."
I've got things to do. Trying to run a business, trying to take over the world. That's a lot to handle. So if they were to take me, I'd be like, look, you know that our
need
world
some-
is
I need
screwed
30
up,
days
and you need
notice.
as many minions on this planet to
days
heal.
notice.
Yeah, 30 days notice. I got to pay rent. I'm just like I am good with the bullshit that this planet has given me, despite it being very hard. And I don't think that I would want to start reconvening with another species when I just figured out how to handle humans. Like,
that is a very well thought out reason.
It is, but not to argue your choice. But at the same time, don't you think traffic, losing your keys, flat tire, a long waiting line at Starbucks, all those
Starbucks,
things
ugh.
add to not getting your calendar synced up properly?
I do, but I think that that's the test. And I think if I were to convene with a new species, it would now be like, well, do they eat food? Do they have emotions? Do they laugh? Like, are they going to let me be me? Are they going to change me? Like, I don't want to be changed because I feel like a lot of us are just finding out who we are. And I'm like, I don't want to be abducted. Like, I got my things together. Life is hard,
But what if they're abducting you for that reason? Because you got your shit
because I'm
together?
cool?
yeah. Okay, so back to the Twilight
I
Zone.
don't think that
because
was cool.
we watched another Twilight Zone episode. I love the Twilight Zone. And there's an alien, and he comes to this planet, and he gives, I'm going to give you like the very abbreviated version.
Comes to our planet?
Comes to our planet, and he gives a gift to this little boy. And because of the people in the town that are so freaked out about aliens, and they're like, they can't handle it, they want to kill this guy. And so they light the gift that they gave the little boy on fire. Come to find out, the gift was a cure for cancer. Once they put out the fire,
course
all that
it
they
is.
saw was the gift was a cure for cancer, but the actual formula was burned away. So bringing it back to the fact that I just don't think that people could handle the fact that it's something that's unknown. even if it's a good thing, people are afraid of something that they don't know. So although I don't want to be abducted, I would love to be able to encounter an alien or an extraterrestrial or something not of this planet.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know that I would want to go on their ship and be like, hey, have your way with me. Let's walk it up. And I may not be able to come back. Like,
I
not
also
down.
feel like there's so many things about our planet, and it may be because I'm like secretly obsessed with marine biology. I feel like there's so many secrets within our ocean that could tell us so many creatures.
I was waiting for someone to talk about the deep.
I mean, 30% of our oceans are discovered, and the rest, we don't know what the fuck's going on down there. There could be a chasm beneath all of that goes into the core of our Earth that has aliens, and they're controlling all of our shit.
They're just hanging
we
out.
don't know. But like, there's so many secrets. Maybe I'm just obsessed with sea creatures. I don't know. But I feel like we give up really, and that's why I'm like, Elon Musk, come on, like just like do some weird rockets to the bottom of the Earth, like something. Like stop going up, go down.
Go down.
Yeah,
that's true.
True. We've explored a great deal of space. Like you're saying, we have not explored enough of the ocean.
We go up, but we don't go down.
Or
And
just
that's not a fun teeter-totter to be on.
Our planet, like War of the
Depends on the
Worlds.
person.
War of the Worlds. They implanted them in just for the time to come out and fuck it all up.
You think of all the giant, like when you really, and I look at a lot of articles that are like, we found this 400-year-old shark and he's big as fuck. But like you look at those creatures and you're like,
So scientific.
yeah, well,
That's basically what they
I mean,
are
and
saying.
it goes into great detail. I just look at it, I'm like, whoa. And then I read it like as a logical human, but just like we've just reached the surface. And I think if we had more manpower to understand our planet and how it functions, we could better understand how other planets function and maybe how creatures are living in different habitats, as if like the pressures down below there are so intense. Maybe there's pressures and radiation on other planets. We're like, okay,
That matches.
things could live there. Like when we think about Mars and it's like the radiation's crazy. Maybe there's weird levels of things going on underneath in the depths of the oceans of our planet that we would think is unlivable, but is. And we have to reconfigure how we see species outside of our realm.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I just think about it late at night.
Late at night alien thoughts.
I think about, I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna Google whales now.
I just find it fascinating because I think like this universe is so huge that I can confidently say I feel like it's impossible for us to be the only ones here. Like people think that's crazy, but how can we be the only ones?
We're not that special.
We're not that special.
Doing amazing things right now.
No, we are not.
We're just trying to pay rent.
We're making poor decisions and we're screwing up the planet.
We're taking shots. We're crying at night. Looking at
My
whales.
hat- these hats
looking up whales.
These hats are very hot. I'm taking my hat off.
Oh, mine's comfy.
Really?
But
It's
I'll
like,
go
feel
ahead and
like-
remove
No,
my
you can leave yours
my
on.
leftover chicken nuggets here.
Your hat is fantastic.
Thanks.
So does anyone have any alien related stories? Maybe it's something that maybe hasn't affected you personally, but a story that you're fascinated by, or an article or a movie or anything. I feel like I have one, but
I have one.
you go first if you have one.
I don't know. I was going to talk about what my favorite kind of alien is. Shit.
Well,
What's your favorite alien?
Well, do you know the different types of aliens?
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
visually, yes, but I don't necessarily know.
Because
Like,
I don't
the
have like
names.
a special like, ooh, this article about this guy being blown up to
cozy.
smithereens and put back together. But like, there are actually
Quote
different
your
types.
sources. What the heck?
Well, yeah, but there's like different types of aliens, and there's like obviously there's like grays, and then there's like humanoids, and then there's like little ones, and then there's these things called Nordics, which are just like blonde people, and like you just there's like all of these different types.
Wait, back to the Nordics. They just blonde.
They're
alien
It
blondes?
states the people who have encountered Nordics, they are literally semi-human like creatures that have
Like
blonde
Thor.
hair and blue eyes. They're
They're
like
Thor.
alien. Yeah. But they're like, oh, that's an alien. That's not real. But So
Okay,
anyways,
continue.
I was just curious if you guys have ever read an article or heard something and it was a specific kind of alien, or if someone's just like, we saw a weird thing and we think it's like an extraterrestrial.
If I could encounter my perfect alien, it would be the alien from, oh my God, Fanboys?
I meant
What's
Paul.
The alien's name?
Oh my god.
What's his name?
It's Paul.
If you guys know who I'm talking
I
about.
want to say Al.
Paul.
But that's
No,
not
it's not
it.
Al.
not Al.
Anyone in
I
the
don't
room
know.
know?
It's
We don't know
Paul.
his name.
Someone?
Paul.
But he's
Paul.
like,
Bueller.
Paul.
Yeah.
he's funny.
Google?
He's
It's Paul.
He's like cute. He's just the right amount of like the small, medium size where I don't feel like you can hurt me, even though you
It's like
can
dating
because
a small person. You're like, you're not a threat.
he's just cute. Like I want it to be a cute alien that maybe like we could hang out and I don't feel scared of you.
So the alien from Family Guy.
Yeah.
Family Man, right?
Oh.
American Dad or whatever. What is that cartoon? Yeah.
Yeah, American.
One
yeah.
So one of those cartoons?
I
Yeah.
just want him to
Something
be
like that.
cute because then I'm not afraid. We're still looking up the name, but we're gonna. So what's
It's
your favorite
Arthur.
kind? We've named him Arthur.
Yeah. It's his name.
What's your
Arthur.
favorite alien?
Well, it's not necessarily alien, but it's alien in nature. We've discussed this before, but it's the horns that are in the sky, the trumpets.
What?
Yes. Continue. Go. Talk.
Go,
Okay,
no.
in your mini Google adventures of whales,
Whales.
Whales.
it's like look up the trumpets,
Kazoos.
trumpets in the sky.
Yeah.
Okay, it is gnarly.
Write that down.
Like I've spent countless hours poring over footage of aliens and or alien happenings and or extraterrestrial experiences, but this one it just blows my mind just because the extent that it covers the globe that these events are happening.
The same sounds.
The same sounds.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily different
it's the
sounds.
Earth farting.
Basically, it's
Yeah,
like,
but
it's
they
the
can't
atmosphere farting.
But even if
basically.
the atmosphere was farting, there would be some sort of scientific, like they would be able to
There would
figure
be
out
a
why,
smell.
and they
Yes.
There'd be-
cannot.
yeah.
there'd be a little label on the gauge that said, "Oh, that's the
That's-
atmosphere
that
fart." But
atmosphere
it's
farts.
well beyond that.
Yeah.
It's basically like whale songs in the sky.
Yeah.
But they can't figure out where it's coming from or its origin or even the frequency it's at is not something that they've experienced before.
And it's
And
not like
does it
pressure
just
or
immediately stop, or does it just phase out and phase
No,
in?
it carries. It starts up randomly, but it carries on. Like there are some videos that say it happened for 20 minutes. Some say it happened over a course of a couple hours, but it trumpets, pauses, and then trumpets again. But it's always just coming from the sky, extremely loud. But that's it. That's all there is.
And
It's not
it's-
accompanied by a storm or anything.
no, and it's like if you actually hear the sounds, if you were out in the middle of a forest and you heard that sound, I would probably just cry.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know
would
how
be
loud it is,
It's very loud.
It's like
But-
Middle Earth is
But I
telling you
remember,
you have to go to war.
I do remember
Yeah.
when I was I think I was in Wisconsin, and they had the tornado alerts go off, and that scared me to death. So I can only imagine giant trumpets from nowhere. Like,
Yeah.
that would destroy me. I would shat myself.
We were just we were on a little like mini vacation in Montana, and we were actually like looking up videos on YouTube to hear the sounds. And it was, our nephew was like freaked out about it. He was like, no, thank you.
It makes
was,
your skin crawl,
it's
especially
scary.
hearing it.
Ooh.
It's
New
just-
ringtone.
It's got such a tone to it where you're just like, what the heck is that? Yes,
Yeah.
it's and that horn from the movie
from War of
terrifies
the Worlds,
me.
that sound, it is like, I just imagine, and I think that's why I'm so afraid of it, is all of those things growing up, watching and hearing, like struck so much fear in me that the fact that it could be real or it could happen is terrifying to me. And although my love of horror and love of all things spooky, the terror is what draws me to it. Like, I like just that right amount of terror to be like, to give you the thrill, but the fact of like abduction where they're taking you away, like, I'm fine if you're here, you're going to be like, boo, scare me, and I can stay right here on the
get
couch
me.
with my friends. But I don't want to go
I think
with
that's
you.
why I like haunted houses so much, because you get that brief like, oh shit, and then it's
then you
done.
leave.
walk out and you're
Yeah.
done, and you
Yeah,
get
it's
it.
that momentary
Yeah.
release of control. You don't have control over that situation.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's going to happen? You don't know. It's that unknown, as
Yeah.
always. What's going to go on?
So I have one more thing to talk about, but we have enough time to talk about? Okay, I have to save it for next time. So we will revisit Alien episode because I have like so many other things to talk about. All right. All right, Fiends, thanks for joining us on this episode of Let's Get Spooky. Oh my God, did you just hear the frog in my throat?
I was like, what is that? She's being possession.
All right, Fiends, thanks for joining us on this episode of Let's Get Spooky. I'm Leanna Vamp.
I'm Ashley Junkus.
And I'm David.
And you can download our podcast on iTunes at Let's Get Spooky, and you can also listen on Spotify. And if you want to watch the video of this episode, you can check it out at letsgetspooky.com. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to stay spooky.
Bye.